Hi everybody, back again. Today I thought we'd talk about relationships. I think there's a lot of people struggling within their relationships because they're struggling within themselves. Right now, we're all kind of learning to bring those emotions up and feeling a lot more feelings about things, and I think especially anger. Anger's a big one. I feel like everyone's kind of letting rip and shouting and yelling and feeling quite angsty and stressed and volatile, and so they're quick to anger. I don't know if you've noticed that in your world, maybe in the car, in the shops. It's like we're all ready to attack people, and there's a lot of angry people out in the world. And I thought it's interesting because that's just a symptom of a much deeper problem. And I suppose this is the problem that I talk about all the time. It's about how we've all been repressed, and we've all been taught to deny, repress, ignore, neglect our own emotional well-being. And what I mean by that is that we're told feelings are wrong and bad and we shouldn't have them. And we've been told that very early on, since the moment we came out of the womb. And the first thing we did was, if we cried, we got a dummy or a breast or, something, stick it in the mouth, or, and of course we want to self-soothe the crying baby. Of course we do. But tears and emotions are part and parcel, and even anger is part and parcel of being a human being on the planet. And how we manage our children or teach them to manage their emotions is really important. And thankfully we're a lot better than we used to do it. Back in the day, well, how many people do I work with that got told off for having any kind of emotions? Don't you dare be angry with me. And it was very much like that. We were all taught to shut down those emotional parts, that heart space. And now, we're moving into a place where we're all being, having to allow those sensations within our body called emotions to come up, and we're not sure how to deal with them. So, a lot of people are distracting through phones, alcohol, drugs, shopping, eating, you name it. That's what they're doing. And we're moving into a time in the world where we're having to really connect deeply with the inner parts of ourselves, namely the heart space. And this is where some of those sensations have been locked up, locked in, repressed, denied, neglected, ignored. And you can see it in people. They're just kind of struggling with a lot of these negative feelings, and we call them negative, but they just are feelings. We call them positive, negative, good, bad, and really we have to stop judging them and calling them anything. They just are, and those sensations are messages. And so if you're living with someone that is struggling to manage, what do you do? What do you do? Because I think seeing people get very emotional, either crying or shouting or yelling or grief or depressed, it's actually can be quite challenging for those of us that are sitting around them. And part of my journey has been to allow my own body to feel those feelings and learning to manage them. And as I've done that, I call myself an emotional coach sometimes, because I feel like I've learned to emotionally coach myself with my emotions. And that's what I have the privilege of helping others do, is to cope them with their emotions and not let them run the show. And that can be tricky because, the emotions come out and then they spill over, and, they come out in inappropriate ways. They might leave you shouting, yelling, blaming, things like that. And, you hurt the ones we love the most. Or if it's in a relationship, we might have a go at this one, or God forbid, we might be yelling at the kids. And really it's because we have, done this, repressed and avoid, and then they're shooting up out of the, with no holds barred. And that's when they feel a little bit out of control or bigger than we know how to manage them. And so there's a lot of people struggling with emotional regulation. And it is something that you learn to do through time, patience, and you know, it's not always easy. It's really not always easy to do that, because right now there seems to be a lot of things coming at us one way or another. There's a lot of things happening in the world, you know, like blackouts, you know, volcanoes erupting, flooding, fires, you name it. All seems to be, you know, things getting washed up on the beach even, you know, like things happening to animals. So it's tricky. It's a very tricky time. And I suppose teaching and learning to manage that part of you gently and tenderly, being kind, being patient, being loving, not mollycoddling, not like, you know, feeling sorry for yourself or, you know, beating yourself up and ignoring you. It's that balance of, can I just be with this part of me in a way that's going to be helpful, so I can learn to manage whatever's going on, understand what that sensation is teaching me or saying to me. You know, a lot of people feel unheard, misunderstood, unloved, and probably because we haven't learned to understand, love, listen to our own hearts, because we've been taught repress, deny and avoid. And I don't know, I think that's the theme of a lot of what I'm helping people understand. Once you understand it, you can know it and own it, you can transform it. And until you do know it, then you won't be able to transform it. So, you know, reminding you, and doesn't matter, I can say this 10,000 times, this is perhaps what I'm here to do, just to say, you know, this is what you were taught and this is what you now have to teach yourself. And it's that rewiring of this and this that's going to help you control this, the one thing you can control, manage this, the one thing, you know, that is your responsibility to manage, and take care of the body and do the best you can. And your best is good enough. I think a lot of us are so judging of ourselves, and, you know, because we're not perfect, we're not acting perfect, or we're not being perfect, or, you know, we haven't eaten perfectly all week, or, you know, we fell off the wagon and ate chocolate. I mean, I know it's different with people with drug and alcohol. You know, that's a much more severe addiction that leads to much more severe issues. But, you know, even others that perhaps aren't as deeply impacting, like, you know, chocolate or food or chips or whatever it is, you know, spending, you know, we kind of condemn ourselves. And really, I find most of us, a lot of us, will condemn ourselves so much more harshly than we would condemn another. And, you know, for me, as long as I'm doing my best sort of 80% of the time, I reckon I'm doing okay. And I realise having a not a super high expectation, you know, coming from someone that was a people pleaser and chronically perfectionist, I realise having taken those expectations off my shoulders has left me feeling a lot lighter, a lot freer. Being kinder to myself is an art. It's an art. It's you know, choosing that, well, I can choose to beat myself up when I have a bit more awareness, or I can choose to, you know, be a bit more gentle, be a bit more compassionate, and being a bit kinder. And that has made such a difference in my life. And I think that self-compassion is sometimes the key, and people understand that in different ways. So you might hear self-compassion as being a bit soft on yourself. I don't see it like that. I think compassion is about having a level of capacity to be fair and to be kind. At the same time, if you overdo it, it's like anything, and I end up feeling sorry for myself and seeing myself as a victim of life, then that just exacerbates my victim stance. Well, it's not my fault, it's everyone else's fault, it's this fault, it's that fault. And that doesn't help anybody. I think that leaves us feeling very impotent is always a good word, I think, like ineffectual in our own lives, helpless, hopeless. It's the opposite of, you know, having self-efficacy and having agency, which means that I choose to be who I want to be in any given moment, and that choice is freedom. And that freedom is empowerment, and empowerment breeds confidence. You know, it's like I just went and got myself a coffee and they sell the best biscuits in the world, and I realised I was up in my head going, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, that double-mindedness. And as soon as I got up there, I realised, oh no, that's not going to work, because as soon as you get up in your head, you get double-minded about something. Yes, I want it. No, I shouldn't. Yes, no. The war is at, you know, peaking at that moment. And just literally coming back into the heart and going, you know, what's going to be best for me right now? Well, to not eat the sweet, because sugar doesn't actually, I don't like anything too sweet, and it gives a funny taste in my mouth, and I'm actually quite intolerant of cane sugar. So, you know, eating that sweet biscuit is probably not going to make me feel good. And it's funny, it just kind of went out of my head. I went and ordered coffee, walked out, and I hadn't even thought about the biscuit. And I thought, wow, you know, it was interesting. I had this dialogue of my head come down into my body. Didn't even think any more of it, to be honest. And then just ordered the coffee and walked out. So there's freedom in that. And then I walked out and I was like, oh, wow, there you go. I made a wise choice for myself. I did what I really wanted to do, which was to not eat the sweet thing that probably not going to make me feel good. And I don't know about you, but sometimes we know these things don't make us feel good, but we do it anyway. We kind of self-sabotage, don't we? And there's a saying, don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. I thought it might be quite interesting. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there for now. You take care. Have a great day. I'll talk to you another day. Bye for now.